Hi guys, and welcome to another Tableau video. The topic of this video is Tableau hierarchies and drill down. And for my data set, I'm going to take an example which comes from Tableau Public, and it's part of the Viz of the Day section. So this particular Viz is titled Cost of a Night Out, and it consists of costs of a date night or a party night at certain cities within the world. And what's interesting is that you could click on this plus sign here and drill into the costs against that city. So for example, for date night, we have costs broken down into dinner, drinks, and cinema. And similarly, for party night, the costs are broken down into drinks, club entry, taxi, and Big Mac. So here's my Excel worksheet. So I have 5 columns. So I'm just taking a very small subset belonging to 2 cities, which is Tokyo and Geneva. And I've also classified these records under 2 events, which is D and P, standing for date night and party. And I've got a total amount section, an items section, and a cost column, which is the cost for that particular item. So the first thing we will do is connect to our data set, and it has just one worksheet. So we see the data, and we'll go and create a new worksheet out here. So I'll start by taking the city and dragging it onto the rows column. So we have 2 cities out here, and then I will pick up the cost, not amount, but cost, and place it on the columns column. So now let's take this event out here, and if we want to filter by event, and see what happens if we add it to the filter section. So again, and let's show this. So as you can see, this data consists of a D and a P, as well as it gives us an all option, which we do not want. So I want to prompt the user to select an event based on slightly more user-friendly text. So for that, I'm going to create what is the parameter. So we go to the section out here and create a new parameter. Let's give it an appropriate name. And the data type for this parameter is going to be a string. And I'm going to use a list, a drop-down list for the values. So I'll take D and P for the values. That's important. And the display is what the user sees. So let's type date, and party. So now let's display this parameter. And as you can see, we have date and party, which is definitely more user-friendly. So now I need to somehow tie this information to the event field and create a filter. So what I'm going to do is go to event and create a calculated field and create a Boolean expression. But first we'll name this calculated field and create a Boolean expression where we only select those events which map to what the user has selected in the parameter field. Okay, and let's add a filter out here and select true, because that's the data we want to see. Let's quickly test. So that's date for you, and this is party. Okay, so that's definitely looking correct. Right, so at the moment we are just seeing information spread across cities, but I also want to see the items for that city based on the event. So this introduces us to the concept of hierarchies. So what I will do is I will pick up this item field out here and drop it under city. And one way of seeing it is we want to see items belonging to a particular city. Now, we could argue that these items belong to an event rather than the city, but I'm going to just leave it under city for the moment. So you can see a hierarchy icon appears out here, and we have city followed by item. And you may also notice that suddenly in the rows section, we have this plus sign out here. It's subtle, so you got to so just pay attention to this, guys, but it's there. Right, so let's see how this behaves. So what I can do is if I click on this plus sign out here, we can see that my data expands and I see the items under that city for the event type that's selected. So let's change the event type, and again we see that we have different items under that event type. Right, so right at the moment we have a monotonous color for our bars. So let's try to bring a dash of color into the proceedings. So what I'll do is I'll drag this event dimension onto color and just change the colors a bit and make them slightly more subtle. So I'll select a different palette. Let's select color blind palette, and we will select appropriate colors for the date, night and party. Alright, so now let's test. So this looks slightly better. Okay, so let's hide this card. And now finally, so this is, of course, we are viewing it proceedings in developer mode. So now let's see how things look in, let's say, a presentation mode. So let's say as a developer, I have created this report and I hand it over to another individual, and she or he goes and presents this to a customer, for example. So let's look at it in presentation mode. So as you can see, okay, so here we have the date information and the party information. Okay, so now at this point, it's not totally obvious that the city field can be expanded. Okay, so it's only when I go closer, I can see this plus sign, and when I click on it, it expands, and when I click on it again, I see the minus sign and it contracts. So how do we tackle this issue? Is it an issue in the first place? So maybe one thing we could do is we could prime the user based on, let's say, a rubric like color, that this particular field is a drill down field. So something as basic as that. So what I can do is I can go to city out here, format it, and go and create a different shading for it. So let's say I select a gray out here, and maybe add an annotation saying that gray fields are drill down fields. So as you can see, when I go back into presentation mode, it's kind of slightly more intuitive. So when I see a gray field, a gray shading out here, it should prime me to the fact that this field is a drill down field. So when I click on it, yes, and as you can see, city is a drill down and not item. So that's one way. I'm sure there are better ways, and we'll cover some of them in other videos. But for this video, I think we are done. I just wanted to give you a flavor of the drill down feature in Tableau, and we also looked at how to create parameters and associate them with filters, and we also mapped to a viz of the day from Tableau Public. So you could always go to the link in the video description, look at the viz of the day, and try to simulate that viz for yourself. So I hope this video is useful, guys. Thanks a lot.